What's up, XR developers? Today we're going to look at a new tool from Meta, which is called the Building Blocks. This tool has been designed to help developers find and implement new features from the Meta XR SDK into your project quickly. This tool is not only for beginners, but can speed up everyone's setup significantly. Keep in mind that this tool is very new and Meta is still adding new building blocks every once in a while. So definitely keep an eye out for your building blocks tab and check it out once in a while to discover new features that you could potentially use in your game. We will look at what is necessary to get access to the building blocks and then look at some different samples. If you like this type of video, please take a second to like and subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to support me, please check out my Patreon where you can find the source code of each tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to join our XR developer community on Discord where we are happy to help you. And now, let's get started. To get started, let's create a new Unity project and we want to install the Meta XR SDK. If you haven't downloaded that yet, I will leave a link to the download page and the Unity asset store in the description. Basically, Meta has recently deprecated their Oculus integration package and split it up into more granular modules, which helps to keep your project very lean and only import what you really need. Make sure to at least add the Meta XR SDK and the Meta XR Interaction SDK OVR integration to your assets for this tutorial. To learn more, you can watch my video here about setting up developer tools from Meta. Let's now find the core package inside our package manager in Unity and install it. We can now simply open the building blocks by going to Oculus, then Tools, and then Building Blocks, or simply open the Oculus settings on the bottom bar of the Unity editor. We can see the main panel on which all the building blocks are displayed. From there, you're able to discover the available set of features that you can easily add to your project. Let's first look at the basic building blocks provided by Meta and test them on OutQuest device. To add a building block to your current Unity scene, simply click on its Install button or drag and drop it onto your scene. Let's delete the existing camera in our scene and start with the most simple block, the OVR camera. You can see that after pulling in the first block, all of its dependencies are installed automatically for us. So if we go to the project settings now, we can see that the XR plugin management as well as the Oculus XR plugin have been installed. Let's check the Oculus checkbox for both Windows and Android. Also, while we are configuring the settings, let's go to the build settings and switch the platform to Android. Lastly, to configure all the other project settings, let's open the Project Setup tool from Meta and apply all the fixes it is suggesting. Now, let's look at our camera rig setup. Every installed block comes with a building block component. By inspecting it, you're able to find useful information about how it's being used in your project. Firstly, there is a header where you can see the block's name, thumbnail, and SDK. Here we can see that the OVR camera is part of the core SDK that we installed. Then we can see the dependencies, which is a list of blocks the current block depends on. Lastly, there is a section called Used By, which is a list of blocks that depend on the current block. On the OVR camera rig, there's not much, but we can see that we have to check the checkbox for Quest 3 if we are using a Quest 3 device. Next, the tracking origin has already been set to floor for us. However, currently hand tracking and pass-through are both not supported yet, because Meta has currently no way of knowing if we want to use these features. If we now, for example, drag the pass-through building block into the scene, we can see that Meta has adjusted the settings automatically for us and completely enabled pass-through on our OVR camera rig. Also, now we finally have some information on our building block component. Namely, we can see on our camera rig that it is used by the pass-through building block, and therefore, if we select the pass-through building block, we can see that it has a dependency on the camera rig. Also, this means that if we didn't set up the camera rig before, adding the pass-through building block would add the camera rig automatically for us. Great, we already have a complete scene that we can test now, but let's add a little bit more. Namely, we want to track and see our hands and controllers when playing our scene. And you guessed it, we can simply drag the controller tracking and the hand tracking building blocks into our scene as well. And again, as you can see, Meta already perfectly sets up all the dependencies and assigns the hands and controllers correctly to our OVR camera rig, so it is ready immediately for use. Awesome guys, I think we are ready now to give this a try. Either build this scene to your device or connect to the Oculus Link app. If you are using the Oculus Link app, however, make sure to go to Settings, then Beta, then select Developer Runtime Features, and lastly enable Passthrough over Oculus Link to be able to test Passthrough directly through our Unity editor with our Meta Quest device. Perfect. As you can see, we are able to see our surroundings in Passthrough mode and see our controllers. Additionally, we can also switch to hand tracking and can see a hand mesh representing our tracked hands. Building blocks allow us to do all of that in mere seconds, which is huge for every beginner or experienced developer who needs to quickly set up a new project. Now, let's look at some more interesting building blocks. Let's delete our pass-through building block and add the surface projected pass-through building block. This building block allows us to see the reality through a window or a portal. As you can see, the pass-through building block from before is a dependency, so Meta added it back for us. Also, we need to slightly move the portal up since it will currently be at the floor level. Once we have set everything up, let's give it a test, and as you can see, we are now able to see the real world through a small window. Awesome. Let's try one more exciting building block before we get to the last part of this video, which is the room model building block. This building block enables another main feature of mixed reality, the ability to understand the world around you and recreate walls, furniture, and ceilings in your app or game. If you want to still see your surroundings, you will need to keep the simple pass-through building block, but we can remove our portal for now. One important thing I noticed is that as of the recording of this video, Meta is not enabling the scene support for us, which is necessary to use the scene model, so definitely make sure to check this box. This will allow us to see the scene models in pass-through mode after setting up our scene. Let's play it on our device and see how this block works. As you can see, we are first getting a dialog window which asks us to scan a new environment. Make sure to scan your room as detailed as possible to get the best experience. Walk around and also look at your ceiling to get the most accurate scan. Once the room is scanned, you also have the option to set up furniture such as tables or couches in my case. The room model works by getting the current scene understanding from the Guardian, or in other words, where the walls and ceiling of your current room are. Use this building block whenever you want the user to interact with the walls or furniture in their living room, office, or in their bedroom. Amazing, guys. There is one more thing I want to show you, and that is how to get even more building blocks. As you know, we simply installed the Meta XR SDK in the beginning, so we only have access to the building blocks of that specific SDK. Therefore, let's look at the arguably most exciting SDK from Meta, which is the Meta XR Interaction SDK OVR integration, which is equivalent to the interaction folder within pre-existing Oculus integrations package. This SDK is not to be mistaken with the Meta XR Interaction SDK, which is equivalent to the interaction folder within the legacy Oculus integrations package. You can find the link to the correct SDK in the description. After installing, let's close and reopen the building blocks window, and we can see that a bunch of new blocks have appeared. Here, I would like to show you two more blocks, the Grabbable item block and the Pokeable item block. Just add both to your scene, and under Dependencies, you will be able to see that Meta again has added some components for us that are necessary to use these features, such as synthetic hands and a hand poke limiter, which are used to represent a hand on the canvas, which is going stop right on the canvas object and will not fade through it. Lastly, on both blocks, we can see that the necessary interactors have been added to our camera rig, so we can interact with both interactables. Let's position those components correctly in our scene, and let's give it a go. Amazing, guys. As you can see, we can grab the cube with our hands as well as interact with the UI. Also, you can see that our finger is pressing against the button at all times and is not just fading through, thanks to the poke limiter. Building blocks allow us to set up amazing prototypes in no time, and I can't wait to see what you will build with even more building blocks in the future. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you'd like to support me, please check out my Patreon, subscribe to this channel, or just take a second to like this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.